Hi, it's Amy from Amy Designs, and today we are here with another video for our summer sewing series. Today we are going to do simple zipper pouches. These are so much fun and so useful. You can organize everything with them, and they're great for travel. They're great just to have whenever you need them. They also make perfect gifts. As always with my summer sewing series, if you would like the PDF that includes measurements of my most popular sizes of zipper pouches, plus the directions to have just on hand when you need them, you can sign up at the link in the description to sign up for the summer sewing series, and you will get all 5 of these projects and patterns straight to your inbox. And you'll continue to receive my Amy Designs newsletter, where I share tips and tricks and coupons and update what's going on over in my world of sewing and creativity. So if you are looking to make your zipper pouches, you have 2 options to do it without the zipper tabs or with the zipper tabs. They are both super simple and fun, and we're going to walk through the step-by-steps to do both of them today. So let's get sewing. Just because these are simple zipper pouches, it doesn't mean that they can't also be beautiful and fun. So I'm going to really quickly share with you a few different options of ways to take up your zipper pouches just a couple of steps and add a little bit more interest and detail to make them individual and unique in lots of different ways. So the basic zipper pouch is going to look like this. It's going to be a couple of pieces of fabric that you sew together, add the zipper, and make it into a pouch. You can add another little element of interest by adding a little D-ring here that you can use to attach to a lanyard or a wrist strap, which I like having the option of adding a little handle to my zipper pouches if I'm going to put it in a purse, or if I want to be able to just carry it on its own without having to keep it in my hand all the time. It's nice to have a way to attach it to something. So adding a D-ring is a quick way to do that. The other thing that you can do, or another thing you could do, I should say, is to piece together the front of your zipper pouch so that you can bring in another element of interest with a new print, something that contrasts and adds just a little bit more texture and fun to your zipper pouch. If you want to take your zipper pouch and add even another level to it, what you can do is add tabs to the ends of your zippers. Now you'll notice that on the pouch without the tabs, that the tops by your zipper angle just a little bit. And this is because of how you insert the zipper and you have your lining and your exterior together. It just creates that little tuck on each of the corners, which is absolutely fine. It functions perfectly, and I don't mind the look of it. I think it looks great. However, if you want to add another little element of interest and also square off those corners a little bit, you can add tabs to the ends of your zippers. You can use contrasting fabric or one that kind of blends with your zipper, however you want to do that. And again, I've just used simple fabric here. Another option with creating your zipper pouch is to create a patchwork for the front of your pouch. Now on the back, I've just used regular fabric, but you can see here that I've even added a couple of lines of quilting to it. Again, just to give it a little bit more interest. So you could take your plain fabric pieces, add some quilting, that would add a little bit of interest, piece it together. Or you can piece the whole thing, just like this little cute little patchwork one that I've made. Another option that is also really fun is to add some embellishment. So in this case, I have done some raw edge applique and added some hearts and embellished this zipper pouch in just kind of a fun and different way. The last option that I have to show you is a quilt as you go front for your zipper pouch. Now this is still just the front. I haven't put it together yet, but what you'll do is cut out a piece of batting, the size that you want the front of your zipper pouch to be, and then do a fun quilt as you go method to attach all those pieces together. It's a great way to use up scraps, and it creates such a fun textured look to it. I do have a video sharing how to do the quilt as you go method, and I will link to that in the show notes if that's something that you want to do. And you can see on here that I've also decided to add a little leather embellishment to it. It's just another fun way to take it up a little and add another element of interest to it. So the first job that you have before we begin assembling our zipper pouch is to decide which style that you want to do. If you are brand new to making zipper pouches, I'm going to strongly suggest that you just pick a couple of fabric prints that you love. And just do a really simple version to begin with. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve adding these zippers. It's not hard, but you'll want to figure out a couple of tips and tricks first, and you don't want to necessarily invest extra time in piecing something together while you practice. Your pouches will come out, you'll be able to use them, it will be awesome, but this is just a fun way. And if you pick fabrics that you love, you absolutely don't need any more embellishment than just gorgeous fabrics. So once you've decided how you want the front of your pouch to look, then we're going to head to our next steps and start prepping all of our pouches. To begin making your zipper pouch, the first thing that you're going to need to do is prepare your front and back and lining pieces. You'll want to cut all 4 pieces to be the same size. In this case, I'm using a patchwork panel and this yellow for my back, and then these are my lining pieces. Now, it's totally arbitrary what size you like to do these. In the PDF that comes with this video that you can get for free by signing up for my newsletter, I will share my favorite sizes that I like to make zipper pouches that I just find really handy and useful. But you can totally make them any size that you like. Just really depends on what you're making it for and where it's going to go and be used. And that is going to dictate the size of these. The other thing that you will need, or that I really recommend, is some fusible fleece. I love the body that it gives to these zipper pouches. So even though they're simple, I really recommend getting some fusible fleece, and you cut that fusible fleece to a 1/2 inch smaller than the size of your exterior pieces. So you'll need 2 pieces of fusible fleece for the front and back of your exterior fabrics, cut to a 1/2 inch smaller. And you will also need a zipper. Now the zipper should be at least as wide as the exterior of your zipper pouch. It's helpful, especially if you're doing just the really simple method. If it's even longer, it just simplifies things as you're adding it so you don't have to worry about sewing around your zipper pull. But it's not a deal breaker if it's just as long as the exterior of your zipper pouch. If you are doing the tabs on this, it could be up to a 1/2 inch shorter than the exterior, but I really recommend that it is at least as long as the front of your zipper pouch. Just it gives you a little bit more flexibility, and it makes it easier to work around the little metal stops and pieces in it so that you don't have to worry about breaking needles. Now, if that's the very basic of what you'll need. If you decide you want to add the D-ring so that you can add a wrist strap or a lanyard to it, you will need 1 piece of fabric that is 2 inches wide by 3 inches long. And then if you are adding tabs to your zipper, you will need 2 pieces of fabric that are the width of your zipper. In my case, they're 1 inch. And I like to do 2 inches long because once it's all pressed together, it gives you a little 1/2 inch zipper tab. But if you want your zipper tab to be a little bit more prominent, you can make this piece a little bit longer, and that will give you a wider tab on your zipper. Once you have prepped your exterior pieces, you have them cut, then you need to fuse your fleece. If you're going to add any quilting, like you can see on this exterior back that I have here, I've added a few lines of quilting. If you want to add any embellishments, say you're adding a little leather tag to it, or you're going to add some raw edge applique, you will do all of that at this stage. Once you have it all ready to go with all of the embellishments, the sewing, the stitching, the quilting, whatever you want to add, now we're ready to start assembling our zipper pouch. And the first thing that we're going to do is prepare our zipper. If you are adding tabs to your zipper, we are going to address that next. You will take your strip of fabric for your tabs, and you'll do this to both of them. The first thing you'll do is fold it in half along the length and press. Then you will open it up and bring the 2 raw edges into that creased line that you just made, and then fold it one more time so that those raw edges are captured inside of the fold. And then you will press it, and then it will look something like this. So you have your raw edges on the inside, and it's all pressed and creased. You want these 2 folded edges lined up, and then you'll have a single fold on the other side. So you'll repeat that for both of your tabs. And if you were adding your D-ring for your wrist strap, it's a great time to go ahead and do that as well. You're going to press it the same way. On the long side, you'll begin by pressing it in half, open it up, bring the 2 raw edges into that crease, and then refold it and press. Then you are going to take the piece for your D-ring or your wrist strap and do a little edge stitch on both sides to finish preparing that piece of fabric, and then we're going to set it aside. Now we're going to get ready to add our tabs to our zipper. I like to work with the closed end of the zipper first. I just find it's much easier and more straightforward to do that. So I'm going to begin by cutting off this little metal tab that's at the end of my zipper. I don't like having to worry about not sewing over that, and so usually if I have room on my zipper, I will just remove it. To do that, I'm just going to take a little ruler, and I'm going to line it up with my zipper pull so I get a nice square cut. I'm going to use my rotary cutter, and then I'm going to trim off that end of my zipper. Now, to make sure that my cut is straight, typically I will start right on top of the zipper teeth, and then I will go back one way and forward the other way so that it is a nice straight line there. Once I have that first edge cut, then I'm going to take my tab and I'm going to slide the end of the zipper in between my 2 folded edges. So you can see I have my single fold on the outside, and then I have my zipper sandwiched in between those 2. I am going to take some pins and pin that into place. And I like to pin on both sides of the zipper teeth because this is a little bit bulky right there. And so you want to make sure that as you go up and over those teeth, things don't get shifted and adjusted at all. So I'll pin on both sides, and then I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew an edge stitch right along the edge of that, making sure I catch both sides of that tab in my stitching. And a lot of times what I will do is I will back stitch across the zipper teeth just to make sure that they are nice and secure so I don't have to worry about my zipper pulling out. So when that's finished, it's going to look something like this. So you can see that I have my stitches across there. I have my back stitches. And now we're ready to add our second side, our second tab to our zipper. Now, it's tempting to be like, oh, I'm just going to cut this here. But if you do, you're cutting your pull right off. Ask me how I know. So make sure that you open up your zipper to ensure that you are not inadvertently cutting the pull right off of your zipper. I really like to make sure that I am using the lines, the grid on my cutting mat to keep my zipper lined up. Again, just to make sure that everything is nice and square. What I want to do now is I want to measure how wide the exterior of my zipper pouch is going to be. And then I will cut my zipper to be 3/8 of an inch less than that. That will make sure that I have plenty of clearance on, I think I just lied. It's not 3/8, it's 5/8 because you want a 1/4 inch on each side. The tab will not be caught in your seam allowance as you sew it. So you want to make sure, I'm just going to pull this zipper pouch out and show you that you can see the folded ends of my zipper tabs here. So you want to make sure that it's shorter than the width by your seam allowance. And then I like to give myself 1/8 of an inch just to have a little bit of buffer there so that I can make extra sure that those tabs do not get caught in my seam allowance. So it's 5/8 of an inch shorter than the width of the exterior of your pouch. So in my case, my pouch is about 7.5 inches, 6.5 inches wide, I should say. And so I am going to cut my zipper to 5 7/8 inches long. Again, I am going to use my little ruler here. And again, I want to make sure that my zipper is lined up with the lines of my gridded cutting mat. And I will again start at the teeth and then kind of go back and forth to make sure I have a nice straight cut, as straight as possible across there. Now, because you have two loose edges here, it's easy for things to get a little bit crazy. So what I will do is, I know that the width of my tab is the same as the width of my zipper tape. So I'm going to start with one side, and I'm going to line up the cut edge with the center of my tab. I'm going to fold that over, and I'm going to add a pin to keep that side in place. Then I will take my second side and I'm going to slide it in between those two folds of my tab. I'm going to make sure that it is butted up right against the fold in the center of that tab. And then I'm going to make sure that the zipper teeth are right next to each other, so everything is all lined up and in place. And then I will pin again the second side of my zipper on the other side of the teeth from that first pin. Then again, you'll take it to your sewing machine and sew across those ends, making sure that you are back stitching across the teeth if you like, just to add a little bit of reinforcement to make sure that those stitches don't come loose and you don't accidentally pull that out. So if you're doing the tabs, then your zipper is ready to go. If you're not doing the tabs, then we're going to skip to the next part and we're ready to start assembling our simple zipper pouch. Now we're going to add our zipper to our zipper pouch. To begin, you'll want to place your exterior fabric right side up. The front of your pouch should be what's facing you. And then you're going to take your zipper and you're going to line it up with the top edge of this pouch. You want to make sure that your zipper is going to open from left to right, unless you like it to open from right to left. But make sure that you're paying attention to where the pull is on your zipper and whether or not it's open, so that you make sure that you're positioning it the way that you would like it to. I like mine to open from left to right, so I'm going to make sure that my zipper pull is on the left. And then I'm going to put it right side down, so my zipper pull is facing down with the top edge of my pouch. Now, in this case, I am not adding the zipper tabs to this one, and so I am going to go ahead and just line it up across. If your zipper is only the length of the exterior of your zipper pouch, then you'll want to make sure that it's centered. But in this case, I'm using a zipper that is quite a bit longer than my zipper pouch is going to be, and that is not a problem. We will cut that off at the end when we go to assemble our whole thing together. So I'm going to place this zipper into place, and then I will take my lining fabric and I'm going to place it right sides together with the top of my zipper pouch. And then I am going to pin that in place. Now, because I have zipper teeth here and things, I like to pin within the seam allowance. I just find it's easier to pull the pins out as I'm going when they are this way. Normally I pin straight into it, but when I'm working with zippers, I just find it easiest to pin it within the seam allowance that way. You can obviously do what works best, but that's just a tip I have found useful for me. Now, if you are making a zipper pouch and using a zipper with the tabs, then you're going to repeat that process. You're going to have your exterior fabric right side up. You're going to take your zipper with the tabs already sewn on, and then you are going to center that zipper across the top, making sure that you have left enough room on your seam allowances. Now, this one is a little short on this side, so I'm going to nudge it just a hair that way. But you want to make sure that, again, your zipper is opening the direction that you like and that it is lined up with the top of your pouch. Now, often what I will do, because I'm trying to make sure that this zipper stays centered, is I will put a pin in the ends just to make sure they stay where I want them to. And then I will add my lining fabric, again, right sides together. Now, if you are going to be sewing this from this side, left to right, you want to pay attention to where your zipper pull is. If I start to sew here and my zipper pull is here, it's going to get in the way immediately as I try to sew along this seam allowance. So what I recommend doing is opening your zipper and making sure that that zipper tape, the side of your zipper, stays lined up with the top of your pouch and your lining all at the same time. So if it helps to put a pin in that up to where your pull is while you position this, then you've made sure that all your layers are together. And again, you can add your pins in the way down. So what I like to do is put a pin right by where that zipper pull is. And then I will know that as I'm sewing, I will sew down to where that pin is. Then I will lift up my presser foot, but leave the needle down, and then you will move your zipper pull out of the way. And I will do a little video showing you how I do that when we take this over to the machine. But before we get there, I just wanted to mention that the reason that we have to worry about the zipper pull when we are doing the one with the tabs and not with this one is because our zipper tape is so long, we don't have to mess with the zipper at all at this point. The pull is not going to get in our way because it's clear over here. If your zipper on this case was the width of your zipper pouch, then you would again also have to keep paying attention to what is going on with your pull. And let me just show you really quickly that if you need to get your zipper pull out of the way, sometimes I find it's easiest to have it open all the way. And then I can line up my zipper. And again, I'll just stick a pin in here to hold it in place while I line both of them up. And then I will add in my lining fabric. And as I pin, I'm going to just make sure all of those are lined up and sew across. And again, if this ends right here, your zipper pull will be here. So you'll put a pin where your pull is so that you know that you've got to move your zipper pull once you get to that point of sewing with your machine. So now that we have our zipper and our first side pinned into place, let's go to our machine and we will sew down that side. I am here at my machine and I am going to be using my 1/4 inch foot that I have on my machine. If you would like to use a zipper foot, you totally can. What a zipper foot does is it allows you to get closer to the teeth on your zipper, which can be really helpful and help you get nice straight lines across. My best tip as you're sewing this zipper down is to just take your time, make sure everything is lined up. Make sure that you are sewing a consistent seam allowance all the way across. When it comes to the zipper on top of your zipper pouch, a crooked seam allowance is really the biggest thing in giving you a wonky looking zipper. So make sure that you're taking your time and that you're keeping things lined up as evenly as you possibly can to make sure that you are not running into any issues. So we're going to begin with this simple zipper pouch that is not going to have the tabs. And then I will show you how I account for the pull in the next part. So this is the one that has the zipper tabs in there. I am going to begin sewing at this end, make sure that all of my edges are lined up. Again, I'm just going to take my time, make sure I keep things even. Now I am coming to where my zipper pull is. So I'm going to pull this pin out. I'm going to leave my needle in the down position, and then I am going to raise my presser foot. That will give me enough room that I can come under here and I can slide my zipper pull. And I sometimes have to kind of adjust it a little bit. This is why it's important to leave your needle in the down position and slide your zipper pull. So you can see now my zipper pull is all the way out of the way of my zipper. And then I'm going to resume sewing, again, making sure that my zipper tape, my lining, and my exterior fabric pieces are all lined up. And I will just finish sewing all the way off of the top. And now I'm going to take this to my iron and I'm going to press both sides of fabric away from my zipper, and then I'll come back and top stitch. Again, I need to make sure that my zipper pull is out of the way, and I'm just going to do a top stitch across my zipper. My needle again is in the down position. Lift up my presser foot, slide the zipper pull out of the way, and then continue sewing. So you see I have that sewn down, and I'm going to do the same thing even if I don't have the tabs, and just go ahead and sew across that top line. Then we're going to add the second side, and I'll show you how to do that as soon as we come back. To add the second side, or the back of our zipper pouch, I'm going to place the back piece right side up. Then I'm going to take the front of my zipper pouch and place it right side down. And here I am going to line up the edge of the zipper tape with the top of that exterior fabric. The other thing that I want to do is make sure that I'm lining up the sides of my exterior pieces together so that my front and back are all lined up. And then I'm going to take my lining fabric and put that wrong side down. And then again, I'm going to come across and pin this whole side inside of that seam allowance. I will take it to my sewing machine, sew across the top again with the 1/4 inch seam allowance, press them away, and then do the top stitching. And the same thing is true for even if you have the zipper tabs, it's the exact same process. It's a little bit easier to make sure things are lined up because you have the seam allowances here on the other sides of the tabs to make sure that everything is lined up and your edges are lined up, your top is all lined up. And again, you're going to put your lining wrong side up. And again, you want to pay attention to where your zipper pull is to make sure that you know where you need to be when you have to move that out of the way. So again, you'll pin across here, sew across, press them away from the zipper, and then do the top stitching. Then we'll come back and I'm going to show you how to add the D-ring for the wrist strap and how to finish assembling our zipper pouches. We are just about ready to finish up our zipper pouches. We have our zippers all installed, and now we're ready to assemble the bag. To begin, you will want to place your zipper pouch with your exterior facing up, and then you will fold the lining piece from behind the front of your zipper pouch up and away so that it's right sides together with the other lining, so that you're only pinning through your exterior piece here. If you are using a D-ring and adding that, then you will take the 2 by 3 inch piece that we pressed and sewed and set aside, and now we're ready to attach it. So you're going to begin by just sliding that tab through your D-ring, and then you will fold it in half around the straight edge of that D-ring. Then we are going to line up the raw edges with the side of our zipper pouch. Now, I like to line it up again on the left side. It gives you something to hold on to as you unzip. And it just is handy and intuitive for me, but feel free to put it on whichever side works best for you. So you want to make sure that you are lining it up evenly so that this strap is kind of perpendicular to the edge of your pouch. And I also like to add 2 pins to this as I'm putting it in, because there's a lot of bulk here. You're sewing through like 10 layers of fabric right here. And so once you hit this, it can kind of just jiggle it a little bit and get it so that it's not square any longer. So I like to add 2 pins so that I can pull out the first pin and start sewing over it and maintain it in place so that it continues to stay square. Now you want to make sure, especially if you, well, either way, you need to open up your zipper at this point. So I'm going to open it so that it is about 3/4 of the way open. You don't want to open it all the way because you don't want to have to worry about your zipper pull interfering with the seam over on this side. But you do want to give yourself enough room so that when you go to turn your pouch right side out, you have a good enough opening to get that done. So make sure you open your zipper. And now we're going to put our exterior pieces right sides together and our lining pieces right sides together. And we are going to get ready to sew our bag. So I'm just going to make sure that all of my edges are lined up. I like to pin this pretty generously to make sure that things stay even and square as I go around. And then when you get to where your zipper is, now we have already sewn right into our, done the top stitching around our zipper. So you want to make sure that you are pushing and folding your zipper towards the lining of your fabric. So your zipper, your seam allowance will actually point towards the exterior, but your zipper will be folded towards the lining. Just make sure you can see that there. And then on this side where it's open because we've unzipped it, again, you want to make sure that the zipper teeth are pointing towards the lining and that all of your zipper teeth and everything line up. So again, this is quite a bit of bulk right here. So you want to make sure that you get it pinned nice and securely so that as you sew across that zipper, things stay in place. Then you'll finish pinning around your lining and then you'll start sewing. Now you want to make sure you leave an opening for turning in the bottom of your lining. So I'll begin sewing here and backstitch. So around the corner, I come to my zipper. When I hit my zipper teeth, I will usually backstitch once or twice there as well if I'm not using the tabs. And that will secure that the end of your zipper so that it doesn't come out of that seam. So you'll backstitch across the zipper teeth and then finish all the way around, ending here again with the back stitch. The same applies if you have the tabs in here. You will begin by adding your D-ring if you are doing that, and then pinning that in place. Open your zipper, and again, you can do it all the way to the end. I usually give myself a little bit of space there. We've already made sure that it's not in the seam allowance because of the tabs. Open your zipper, line up the outside and the inside. One thing to note as you are pinning around your tabbed zipper is that, again, when you get to this part where you are coming to this connection between the exterior and the interior, you want to fold that tab so that it is toward the lining. So your zipper, again, will be folded towards the lining and your seam allowances will line up on top of one another. Again, this is a lot of substance right here. You've got zipper tape and tab fabric and all kinds of things. So just take your time when you're pinning that. And then one last thing I wanted to note as I'm sewing around my zipper pouch here, when I get to where I have this D-ring, if that's what I'm adding, I want to make sure to reinforce at the beginning and ending on either side of that tab. Because if you're going to put a strap on it or hang it from a lanyard or whatever, there's going to be some tension on that D-ring and the tab holding it in place. And so I like to reinforce those stitches a little bit just to give it a little extra security and make sure it can withstand all the use it's going to get. So again, once you have your zipper pointed towards your lining, we're going to sew all the way around it and then finish our zipper pouch. Now we're ready to finish our zipper pouch. If you are doing a simple zipper pouch without the tabs, the next step is if you have extra zipper tape hanging out, you'll just trim it right up to your seam allowances. And then we're going to clip the four corners of our zipper pouch just to reduce a little bit of the bulk in those seam allowances. And then we're going to turn our zipper pouch right side out through the opening we have left in our lining. So I'm just going to take my time and slowly turn it right side out. Now, one thing I like to do to get myself started is I will put my finger in this corner and kind of pinch it to help push that corner out. And it just gives me a place to start and something to hold on to. And then I'm just going to kind of ease it through. I don't want to get too aggressive with it. I don't want to pop those seams in my seam allowance at the bottom. And then I will turn my zipper, the tabs ends of my zipper, and try to get all 4 of my corners pushed out. Once I get to this stage, a lot of times I will like to take kind of a pointy but not sharp tool and just push out those bottom exterior corners just to make sure it's nice and square. And then the last thing that you're going to need to do is close up this opening. So I will straighten out my lining and just try to get a good straight seam on this bottom here so that I have something to use as a guide as I fold under this seam allowance. And I usually do this at my iron to give me a nice crisp seam. So I will just kind of pinch these 2 sewn edges together and pull them so it creates a straight line. I will press that with my iron, and then I'm going to stitch across this opening just using an edge stitch like I've done right here. Once I've finished that, then I'm just going to push my lining inside my pouch. And if I'm having a hard time getting the corners all the way in there, sometimes I will again use that pointy tool to get them in. Then I will close my zipper, and a lot of times I will take this to my ironing board for one final press. And there you have a super simple but lovely and very useful zipper pouch with tabs. And I'll just shove this in here so we can kind of get the feel for what it looks like, or without. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments or to find me on Instagram at Amarooney Designs. Again, you can get the free pattern for this as well as 5 other projects in my summer sewing series by signing up for my newsletter. And I will have a link to the form to sign up in the description below so that you can get this PDF as well as all the other fun projects we've been doing this year. Thank you so much for joining me. We have one more project coming up next week. Can't wait to see you there.